Good morning, church. It is good to be with you again this morning. It's the first week of Advent, which is kind of hard for me to get my head wrapped around. It's this idea that Christmas will be here before we know it. And in the church, it's always been this tradition of preparing for the 4 weeks ahead of the birth of Christ, that we prepare, and that Advent is looking forward to the things that Christ brought into the world and remembering those things. And the first topic we had for this week was peace. And we talked about what it means to have peace in our lives and how Christ brought peace into the world. He's often referred to as the Prince of Peace, which comes from a reference from Isaiah. But this idea of peace is sometimes hard to come by, because I think peace is an elusive thing. Sometimes we feel like we're just not at peace, and we don't know why. We don't know because we have a conflict that we haven't resolved, or there's just things going on in our minds that we can't quiet. And so I thought I would share a few things with you to help you maybe think about this. One of them comes from the prophet Isaiah that we talked about in worship this last Sunday. It's Isaiah chapter 2, verse 4. It's a very famous quote from Isaiah, and it's used in multiple different places. It reads this way: "He shall judge between the nations and shall arbitrate for many people. They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. A nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore." A very moving statement. In fact, it was so moving that it's on a monument across the street from the United Nations building in New York City, to remind people that the goal is peace. The goal is that we should not be at war with each other, and that if people would choose to love one another the way God loves us, then this would be something that's attainable. And I truly believe it is attainable. I think world peace is attainable, because if I didn't think it was attainable, why would I be working towards it? And so I think all of us should be thinking that's a possibility. But this idea of warring and unrest among people is a little bit different than our unrest with God. And sometimes we feel like that we're not at peace with God because something's going on in our lives that we don't understand, or we can't figure out, or we don't think it's fair. There's just a lot of different things that cause unrest in our own lives. And peace, like I said, can be very elusive. Well, when Jesus came, he said that I bring peace. And in John chapter 14, verse 27, Jesus says, "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not let them be afraid." Jesus knows that we're going to be afraid at different times and troubled, but he's saying that it's kind of like, I got this, He conquered the world, and that if we were to follow in the path that he laid out for us, things will be a lot more peaceful. That if we truly loved one another the way God loves us, the way Jesus demonstrated for us, peace is attainable. And that's really my hope for the world. And we've gone through a very challenging time with the pandemic, and it's been a lot of upheaval in society, a lot of political unrest and a lot of social unrest. And all those things are probably necessary for change, and yet they cause us a lot of inner conflict, and it's hard for us to feel truly at peace. Jesus taught in the Sermon on the Mount that it's blessed to be peacemaker as part of the Beatitudes. And let me just read a couple of lines from that. Matthew chapter 5, verse 7. Jesus said, "Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy." Sometimes the best thing we can do is not try and get our even. Like sometimes we say we want to get our pound of flesh, and sometimes the best thing is just to be merciful and grace-filled and forgive people. So it's blessed are the merciful. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. If our hearts are not blackened by the world, and that we're completely consumed with things that satisfy our own desires, that if we have a pure heart, that we will see God, that we'll see God through the lives of others and through the beauty of the world. And then he said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God." And I think some of us are called into the world to be peacemakers, and I hope that you're one of those, that you're called to be a person who can help people see eye to eye, help them to understand that differences of opinions doesn't mean you have to have a battle over it. It means that you can talk to one another and help to understand each other better. Well, the song I want to share with you today is written by Tommy Dorsey in 1937, and it's probably one of the most popular gospel songs written in the 20th century, called Peace in the Valley. Originally, Tommy Dorsey wrote it for Mahalia Jackson, who was a very famous gospel singer and had many, many recordings. But she recorded it, and then 1951, Red Foley and the Sunshine Boys recorded it and had a big hit from this particular song. Later, it was recorded by all kinds of people. Almost any artist you can come up with probably recorded this at one point. But Sam Cooke, Joe Stafford, Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash. You can come up with just a variety of names of people that have recorded this song. But probably one of the most well-known versions of this was one done by Elvis Presley on the Ed Sullivan Show in 1957. And I remember watching the Ed Sullivan Show a lot as a kid and enjoying he was such a character, because he would come out there and say, "I've got a really big shoe for you tonight." And I always wonder what the shoe was about, but it's just the funny way he said show. I have a really, really big shoe. And so he had people like Elvis Presley and the Beatles and Rolling Stone. I mean, you name any popular group in the 60s and in the late 50s, and Ed Sullivan had him on his show at some time or another. Well, Elvis Presley's recording was released in April 1957 on RCA Records. And I'm not going to do it in Elvis style necessarily, because I don't think I can imitate that too well. But I'm going to sing for you Peace in the Valley, and I encourage you to sing along. Well, I'm so tired and so weary, but I must go along till the Lord comes and calls me away. Oh yeah. Well, the morning's so bright and the Lamb is a light, and the night is as black as a sea, and there'll be peace in the valley for me someday. There will be peace in the valley for me. Oh Lord, I pray there'll be no sadness, no sorrow, no trouble I see. There will be peace in the valley for me. Well, the bear will be gentle, and the wolves will be tame, and the lion shall lay down with the lamb, oh yeah, and the beast from the wild will be led by a child, and I'll be changed from this creature that I am. And there'll be peace in the valley for me someday. There will be peace in the valley for me. Oh Lord, I pray there'll be no sadness, no sorrow, no trouble I see. There will be peace in the valley for me. There'll be no sadness, no sorrow, no trouble I see. There will be peace in the valley for me. Well, that's my prayer for you today, that you sense the peace of God around you, even when things are all in an uproar, wherever you turn, that you have peace and comfort knowing that God loves you, and God continually walks with us in our hearts, in our minds, and our souls. If we allow God to encourage and to change the way we treat other people, if we treat them with equity and with love and with mercy, I know that peace will come. Have a beautiful day.